Hey guys, it's Tape the Grape, and today's video is going to be on the Mercury. Yesterday I was driving it. I've got a little clip, but I drove it not too far, less than a mile, down the road to Walmart, and temperature gauge was flashing. I don't think it was actually overheating or anything, because it's done this before, but not to this degree. And it flashes for a second, beeps, and then and the new thing that started yesterday is that it was misfiring. So I've done some research. I believe it might be temperature sensor that's causing kind of like a limp mode. It's kind of putting it into like a purposeful misfire where it's cooling the engine down because it thinks it's overheating even though it's not. But let's do a cold start here. It's what's the temperature outside? 29 degrees outside. Sounds normal so far, but of course, sure it'll take a second. I'm going to drive it around the block a few times to get the temperature up. Because it wasn't until it got to... Because it only ever really usually gets to 3 bars in winter and 4 in summer. Which is still in the normal range. But yeah. It's starting to misfire right now. Don't know how well you can hear it, but yeah. Driving around, and thankfully the shop I have to take it to is just down the road that way. So, still in the neighborhood, so that's good. It's the same shop that I went to get the brakes done on the Aries. And they did decent work. So give me 1 second. Alright, let's put it into drive. Take a right here. It's to the left, but I'm going to warm the engine up a tiny bit before I take it to the shop so they can have a better chance at seeing what's wrong with it. Versus I've had in the past where not this particular mechanic, but a mechanic looks at my car, and because it's not warm, when an issue only happens when it's warm, they're like, oh, it seems fine to us. But I'd hope this shop isn't like that. Hopefully they're actually thorough. And that shop I'm referring to, I haven't gone back since, obviously. Well, they're not even in business anymore anyway, so. Oh. You can definitely hear it acting funny. Can you hear it? Definitely sounds like it's misfiring. But anyway, let me get it to the shop. Take a left up here at the end of this road, and it's up there to the left. Power's definitely cutting in and out. It's like it's acting like a 4-cylinder when it's misfiring. I was looking it up like I mentioned in the previous clip. It does that for a kind of like a limp mode, kind of sucks air through the engine to cool it down when it thinks it's overheating, and obviously it's not overheating. But this also might be an unrelated issue, but at the same time, yesterday when it was happening, it was doing the flashing temperature gauge. Hasn't done that yet, but, you know. Hear that, that's I'm assuming the cylinder's not firing. But thankfully it's just up here to the left. Hopefully it isn't a big issue. Hopefully it's easily fixed, but only time will tell once the shop looks at it. It is 9:58 a.m. I'm supposed to have it in at 10, which it's right up here to the left just before this Burger King. Thankfully. Shop here to the left. Park it in the back. There we go. Whoops, I'm in the dirt. Oh well. Well, his normal shop's right there, but the sign on the front door said he moved to right over here to that building past the brown one, the one with the gray and white door. You can probably see with that sedan or SUV there. You can see my car. But I talked to him right as he arrived. He said he's gonna second and let me know. Now I'm walking home. So I got it back from the shop and they said they had got these codes here. A transmission fluid temp sensor. They said they wouldn't be able to fix that, and the catalytic converter thing, they could fix that, but I'd rather all of it get replaced in one spot. They said I need to get a transmission shop to look at it, and that's what I'm about to do now. Okay guys, so it's been about half a week since that last clip, and I've got some bad news and some good news. Whichever one's worse, I don't know. You'd be the judge of that, but I'm a little disappointed. But anyway, so I had taken it to, I don't remember if I mentioned it in the previous clip, a new shop called Carpenter's Auto Repair, or something along those lines. Transmission shop. Well, of course, that trans temp sensor thing turned into, oh my, look at there, flat tire too. That's not good. Well, anyway, I taken it to the shop, and they had looked at it a little bit, and they said, oh, well, your temp sensor flashing and that stumbling or whatever. Oh, before we can really look at anything, we got to make sure the cooling system's actually working good. So, of course, they said, you got to get a new, you got to flush the radiator, which I can agree. He had said it looked dirty on the inside. It was. I recall seeing that prior. I wasn't too worried about it. And then it said new upper and lower radiator hoses and whatnot. You can see, new thermostat, of course. Flushed the cooling system is what he said. I'm not sure what color fluid he used. I hope he used green. But anyway, doesn't look green to you, does it? It doesn't look like it's to me. So anyway, quite frankly, I'm disappointed, I will say. And then when he lifted it up on the lift, after he had already suggested that, and I had told him go ahead with it, he said the entire transmission, what is it called? Wiring harness was completely melted. I'll put a photo on screen now. And as you can see, it looks awful. It's actually burned. I don't know how it got burned. Somewhere, somehow, it did. But anyway, yeah, so I had to have him rewire all of that. Very disappointing, very expensive. I'll show you the paper here shortly. I told him I wanted to keep all the old parts. Couldn't find the thermostat. I told him whatever, it doesn't matter. But the old hoses there, you can see that they were definitely crusty and nasty on the inside. But anyway, a whole lot of disappointment. So I've got my own antifreeze right there. Doubt he used that, but anyway. So yeah, and after all that, I still have my same issue where the temp light comes on. He said that's in the dash. And then also, which makes me believe it's not just in the dash, like a gauge cluster problem, is because it still does that stumbling. It seems like right as it does the temperature light flashing. You've seen it in the previous clip, so yeah, I'm disappointed to say the least. Let's go look at that paper though. Just before we look at the paper and what actually got done, here's some of those sensors he replaced. I might have mentioned, maybe I didn't. But yeah, it was actually melted. You probably saw in the photo. Let's look at this now. So, start off, let me cover up my address and everything. If you want to pause and read that. Melted and burned. Cooling system flush. Rewired about 50 hoses. That was my grand total. $1,297.98. He actually kind of cut it down to just, 95, not 97, but still, Still, regardless, the issue, also my heater core starting to leak, and I already knew I needed front wheel speed sensors. I'm not too worried about that, but yeah, that's a bum. That bums me out, I should say. But anyway, yeah, there's the papers. And, well, let's start it up. He told me, let me make sure I got my keys on my person before I close them in the trunk. He told me, it might be a simple case of the engine just needing to relearn itself, which would make sense, but it also doing that with the temp gauge flashing. It's not going to relearn to stop doing that if it's an electrical problem. So something tells me that's not really going to, it's not going to start running smooth if I do it. As he quoted, a few driving cycles, it should clear itself up. I told him I will drive it a few days, see what happens. If not, I will be back in touch with him. That's what I straight up told him. I've got my receipts and everything. So, again, very dissatisfied. Spending $1,300 basically to bring my car in to get an issue fixed, and the issue's still there. So, you know, it is what it is. Let me know what you think. Let's start it up. And I completely understand if you're going to say, oh, take it back to the shop, tell him it's not done, and, you know, demand he actually fixes it. Well, he's going to charge me more. I already spent a bunch, and I completely agree with you otherwise, you know. So, again, I told him I'll be back in touch if it still doesn't fix on its own, which I have a feeling it's not going to. Already stumbling, like misfiring. I don't know how well you can hear it, probably not very well, but anyway, I'm gonna drive it around, get it up to operating temperature, and do what he suggested. Get it, you know, from starting from cold, getting it up to operating temperature, and putting it through a few driving cycles. So anyway, if anything happens on the way, I'll let you know. I'll let you know if it does or doesn't, but I believe it will still continue to act up. Right now it's running smooth, but, you know. Anyway, temperature gauge still probably eventually beep. Maybe you can hear kind of like a slight machine gun-esque sound, like a misfire. And then it does the beeping, and then it runs smoothly, then it goes back to running poorly. And it feels like whenever it runs smoothly, when it goes back to running smoothly, it gets more power, of course, because I assume all the pistons are firing. Shit. Sorry, I want to apologize for the jumbliness of the video. A lot has been stressful lately, and this is just the cherry on top. I'm sure you can understand. So I've got it up to operating temperature. This is the second drive cycle I've had with it since that. See if I can roll the window down and have you listen. Letting off the accelerator, just so you know. Going back on the accelerator. It's probably just wind noise you can hear, who knows. But anyway, I don't want to make this video 18, 20 minutes. It's probably already that long, but you know. Anyway, I'm gonna get home. I just really hope it doesn't die on me, and I hope driving it like this doesn't do any extra engine damage, you know. But yeah, if it doesn't start acting normal, which again, I don't believe it's going to, on its own at least, I have no choice but to take it back to a shop and get it actually fixed. Probably not that shop though, since it's clearly not a transmission issue. Oh geez, I only thought it was a transmission issue because it had that one single transmission code. But anyway, maybe I'll splurge and go to Firestone. Maybe they actually have, you know, they know what they're doing. So they're expensive, but hopefully they know what they're doing, right? Oh, and I don't know how well you can see it. Can you see the steam coming out of the vent here? Coolant. That's coolant smell. The leaking thing over there, the fucking whatever it said on the paper, I don't remember. It seems like it has more problems than it did before I took it to the shop. That's very upsetting. But anyway, let's get it home, almost home.